This is Miss P with her wife, Rebecca Belanger. She goes by Beck. Um, Thank you so much for agreeing to go and talk with us, the GSA at Hunter's Lane, about your experience of being in the military.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. All right, so first thing, tell us a little bit about yourself, your military career, and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so I enlisted in the military, in the Army specifically, right out of my senior year of high school. I grew up in a small town in northern Nevada, had the recruiter available, and that's what I chose. Um,
The
fast
recruiter had gone to your school to
yeah, the
recruit.
recruiter was present in my high school, and I talked to him, and I ended up signing up. So I was 17, actually. I turned 18 in basic training. Fast forward to today, I retired from the military about 2.5 months ago. So I served for just a little over 21 years. So that's the long story short.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and I'm definitely inspired by you because I know that you had like very little opportunity growing up in northern Nevada. There wasn't a whole lot of things for you to do to explore for a career outside of going to college, and it sounded like to me when we've talked about it before that you weren't ready to take that path, and so the military was a great way for you to get out of northern Nevada and just kind of explore the world and become who you are now, which is this awesome, wonderful person that I love.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you're right there. I might not have known it at the moment, but definitely looking back, I wasn't in an environment that I was strongly encouraged to excel or to pursue scholarships or
Academically.
research things academically. I was kind of held to the standard of like, hey, as long as you pass, you're good. And then I did live in a very rural environment, and those things definitely did attribute to me ultimately joining the military. And like I said, at the moment, that might not have been exactly what I was thinking, but those things definitely led me there. Which I think that's my story of joining the military. Um, through my years of experience, I've met people who have joined the Army because they are true patriots.
Yeah.
And they have that desire to serve. I've met people who are maybe in less desirable circumstances, as far as maybe being in an environment that they want to get away from. So joining a branch of the military is an opportunity. I've met people who join the military for the benefits. They might be young with a young family or soon to have a young family, and that's a way for them to provide income and get some guaranteed health insurance. So I say that to say there's a lot of reasons why people join. So and it whether you do like myself a career's length of time or your initial contract. My opinion is, and I think it's a very educated opinion, is it's not a bad thing. It's a good way to go if that is something that fits you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, and thank you for all that you've done for us and our country.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So, a lot of things have evolved over the course of your 21-year career, including the overturn of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So, what was Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and how did that affect you as a young soldier?
Yeah, that is a I say a huge question because that was a huge part of my career. So when I joined the military in 2001, yeah, I say in 2001, the policy that was in effect was called Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which essentially meant if you are a member of the LGBTQ plus society community, thank you. You can join the military, but you cannot be open about your lifestyle.
Must be completely
It must
hidden.
be completely hidden. And so that's the don't tell part. The don't ask part is that the military is agreeing, like, we're not going to ask any questions. We're not going to ask you what your sexual preference is or what your pronouns are,
Your
anything like
gender
that.
identity.
Yeah, you are going to be identified by your cis birth, or
Your
your
name assigned at birth
or
and
your
your
gender
identity.
assigned at birth, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and nothing else will be asked.
Mhm.
So it was kind of at the time
And it was a law.
it was a law, yeah.
So it
This
was
was a
illegal.
federal law this was actually enacted by President Bill Clinton.
Mm.
Um,
And it made it essentially rendered it illegal for LGBTQ people to be open. So you could be
yes,
LGBTQ, you just couldn't be
yes.
open
So
about
you
being gay.
could serve in the military if you were a member of the LGBTQ community, but that had to be hidden from the military. You
Mhm.
wouldn't be able to be out to anybody that you worked with, and you wouldn't be able to maybe act or behave in a way that could lead somebody to think that you're a member of that community.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And my understanding too is if they did discover if there was evidence that you were openly queer, um, like in a same sex relationship, and it was apparent, then people could bring that evidence against you, and you could be you could be barred from the military,
Yeah, that's
dishonorably
absolutely
discharged.
right. Like, and it's a legal system within the military. So yeah, if somebody does present that evidence, it would, be a legal matter with, yeah,
Investigation.
all that. And if the evidence proves, solid and they can convict you of that, you could be actually dishonorably discharged from the military at that time.
Yeah.
So serving on that is, you know, in a nutshell, because it's a really deep topic, that is what serving under Don't Ask, Don't Tell meant.
Hmm. And can you tell me just real quick, what's the difference between dishonorable discharge and an honorable discharge?
Yeah. So if you join the military and you exit the military based on, ending your contract that you signed up for, you served your term honorably, you're getting a handshake from the military saying this person served in the military honorably, um, or vice versa. If you get kicked out of the military for, you know, any number of violations that,
Violating don't ask, don't
yeah,
tell, substance use,
substance
domestic
abuse, right?
violence.
Any number of, kind of a lot of the legal matters that a lot of civilian agencies hold themselves to. The military does too. Um, so if you violate some of those things, you can be separated from the military. And if you're being kicked out on basically negative terms, it's going to be a dishonorable discharge. The reason this is so important for every individual who serves in the military, everybody should want to aspire to that honorable
Hmm.
discharge, because that handshake that the Army gives you when you leave is actually a form, and your future employers will want to know that information. If you're putting on your resume that you served 3 years, 10 years, whatever, in the military, um, the future employer that you're, trying to get employment with, they will ask for that form because they want to know, were your exit terms with the military on good terms or not,
Hmm.
right? That's
Hmm.
like any employer is going to check with your previous employer.
If you've been
Yeah.
fired, like why were you fired or
Yeah.
what was
So
the reason
that's,
for
so
firing?
that was, that was the big risk under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It's not like, oh, I can just be out of the Army and go live openly how I choose to outside of the Army.
Hmm.
Yeah, but that comes with basically a bad reference.
Hmm.
You got
Hmm.
kicked out of the military. Um, you could, it doesn't say for violating Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It just says you were dishonorably
So
discharged.
people wouldn't necessarily know if that was under don't ask, don't tell. They might think
Correct.
they could assume it was something worse.
Correct. The individual could certainly advocate for themselves,
Hmm.
and probably maintain the file of their case to
I think nowadays since don't ask, don't tell had been overturned, people can hire legal counsel to try to fight those cases from when
yeah.
they were dishonorably
That
discharged.
is a really good point because going back to I joined in 2001 under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Don't Ask, Don't Tell got repealed in 2011.
I believe so.
Um, so just for me, that was just a 10-year period of, but I'd have to look back into when it enacted. But
Hmm.
yeah, basically anybody who is separated from the military under Don't Ask, Don't Tell for violating Don't Ask, Don't Tell, they absolutely, if you guys have relatives or friends or whatever that might affect, and they haven't gotten their discharge papers changed to honorable, that is something that they could do. Just tell them to reach out to their local veterans resource officer. We're there all over the place. Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you. How did your life change when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was overturned?
Yeah, it changed dramatically. So actually, I had married a fellow service member who is a male,
Cis male.
a cis male, knowing that I wanted to keep my military career and that violating Don't Ask, Don't Tell could end it. And also, I had a fear of being disowned by some family members if I did fully come out. Um, so I married a cis male and was married to him at the time that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. And basically, everybody was allowed to openly be open with who they are and serve in the military. So once Don't Ask, Don't Tell got repealed, I got a divorce and I came out. And so, yeah, it impacted my life exponentially.
Yeah.
You know, it allowed me to become a happier person, become a better person, because I was able to live my true self and do what I was passionate about, which at the time was, you know, my service to the Army.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like to me, obviously, there was a lot of fear underneath that time when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was when it existed. I'm sure for many service members, but I'm sure for you, it sounds like that was a point of fear. Like I had to hide my authentic self, marry a cis male when you are not bi, you know, you identify as lesbian. And so, and you had even then, just secretly,
right? Yeah, absolutely.
And so there was that fear not only for losing your career but also losing loved ones, which is a very common theme that we see amongst LGBTQ youth. That concern that their loved ones or their parents, their family members are not going to
support.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it sounds like that was a lot of what you had experienced.
Yeah, definitely. All the fear that you mentioned is correct, and I'd say one of the things that I didn't face that I think probably a lot of the LGBTQ face is I was able to support myself. Like I had income,
you had a job,
you know, I had a vehicle, you know, I had these things, so I knew if I did lose the military, like I was going to be okay. I had a little bit of money saved up.
Even if you were dishonorably discharged, you weren't concerned?
Not, well, so what I'm saying is not having a way to support myself wasn't a fear, is what I'm saying is like a lot of youth might have to face, which is why I think having GSA, right, in high schools, having not only teachers, but other members of the staff and social workers involved in it. So let's say a member of Hunters Lane, God forbid, came out and they were no longer allowed to live where they were supported with, you know, a place to sleep and food. I think it's important that people that might find themselves in that situation know that there are resources out there for them.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think there's fear no matter where you're at in your life.
But some are more vulnerable than others.
Yeah, depending on, you know, potentially their age, you know, if they're still in their school age years living with an adult guardian, versus, you know,
being an adult.
You could name the situations could go on. So I just think overall knowing that you don't have to bear it all.
Yeah.
There are a lot of resources.
There.
Now more than ever, you know, there's still room for growth, but there's a lot of resources to help anybody in that situation.
Thank you. So the last question I have for you is, what is something you want our LGBTQ youth to know about Veterans Day and or about having served as an openly queer veteran?
Yeah, so I would say one, just know what Veterans Day is, right? And I'm sure a lot of you do, but some people still aren't clear on it. You know, Veterans Day is to honor those who are living who have served in the military, you know, in any capacity or for any length of time. What I would say is if you have a stereotype in your head of what a veteran is, don't. I say that because I had a stereotype in my head of what a veteran was.
So did I.
Yeah. But I'm a veteran. You know, I'm a openly lesbian in a marriage.
Same-sex marriage
person. Yeah. You know, and I was fortunate enough that for the last half of my career I got to be open about that. Um, but yeah, I would just say if you have a stereotype in your head of what a veteran is or who a veteran is, don't. Um, I have served with. I was able to serve with some amazing, amazing
Very
people.
diverse people
Yeah,
too.
some good people.
Absolutely.
You know,
Hmm.
the military is from the American society, and it's a little community within itself. Um,
There's a lot of people from foreign countries, foreign nations that joined the U.S.
yeah,
military.
yeah, a lot of people from certain countries certainly, you know, if um, they can join the military and gain citizenship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I am grateful that I took a chance on a veteran
yeah, me too. It
because
worked out pretty good.
I don't think anybody who would have met me, just being like, super queer, super social worker, pretty liberal,
Right.
I did have a stereotype in my head about what veterans were, right, of who
Yeah.
they were. And my twin brother was a former Marine,
Hmm.
or he is a former Marine, um, which is another branch of the military. And so I had kind of an idea of who veterans were, and then I was like, you know what, this gal seems pretty cool, so let me take a chance on her. And I'm super grateful that I did. And
Yeah.
we wouldn't be here doing the things that we do, and like having this lovely home and life that we have together without having had some faith in that process. That you know let's take away those stereotypes and
Yeah.
just see her for her.
Yeah, just you know, meet the individual at their level and get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good life advice in general.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Agreed.
yeah,
But yeah, very grateful, and not only for our life together, but the people that we've met, like some of our closest friends are veterans, or their spouses are veterans, and so we wouldn't have like the people in our lives that we do without you, and I hold them very near and dear to my
yeah,
heart.
no, yeah. We, you know, some of the people that we call family, you know,
Absolutely.
are veterans. So
Mm-hmm.
chosen family. So yeah, it's been great to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the long run, I'm thankful that like I said, I got to see. Um, Military personnel serve openly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a
Yeah,
lot of
some of our best friends.
yeah, like all of those that came before me that didn't serve before Don't Ask Don't Tell Got Repealed, like they did that hiding it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Mm-hmm.
um, it's good to know your history. You know, your LGBTQ history
Mm-hmm.
and where their rights were and the steps that have been taken to bring us to where we are now.
Mm-hmm. And I
Um,
think you've even told me too that those who identify as trans can get hormonal replacement therapy to live their authentic selves in the military currently. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I know personally, I had a soldier when I was still serving who she was diagnosed with gender dysphoria
Mm-hmm.
and
Now
was
he.
yeah, he was recommended by his medical doctors and his psychologist to undergo
Hormonal replacement
hormone
therapy.
replacement therapy and to begin transitioning. So
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, that's another huge step that
Absolutely.
the military has taken to, I think, obviously towards human rights, but I think also to reflect what society is doing or should be doing in most cases.
For inclusivity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Was there anything else that you felt like you wanted to add, or had any questions or statements for me?
No, just, I mean, thank you for one. Thank you to the entire GSA staff and student body and to Hunter's Lane. Um,
Thanks, Mr. Gay.
yeah, absolutely. I would say if you think the military might be a fit for you, you know, don't count it out. At least research it a little bit. Hey, if it's not for you, no worries. But for me, it turned out to be the best decision of my life. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd say if you're curious about it, maybe look into it, find out if it's for you or not, and
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Absolutely. We definitely have, a couple of LGBTQ kiddos at in our JROTC at our
Yeah,
school. So,
that's great.
and
I'm
whether
glad
they
they
want to
have.
pursue that or not, that's
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad they have JRTC there. I
Same.
didn't have that, growing up, so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great program. And like you said, whether it's just something you partake in during your time in high school, or you do it and end up joining the military, like, it's a great program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us this really vulnerable and wonderful information. I appreciate that, honey.
Thank you.